A god once ate his own children to keep from becoming his father. It didn't work. That is the trap I want to show you tonight. Why the man you swore you would never become is so often the exact man you turn into. And why the swearing is the reason. It's already happening, somewhere in your life. It's the evening your father's voice walks out of your mouth at someone you love, and you don't even see it coming. There is a single sentence Jung wrote about fate that explains the whole thing. We'll get to it. But first, the god. His name was Cronus. He took his throne by overthrowing his own father, cutting him down, ending his reign, and swearing the cruelty would end with him. Then a warning reached him. One of your own sons will do to you exactly what you did to yours. So when each child was born, Cronus took the infant and swallowed it whole. Not out of hatred, out of fear, to make certain he would never be overthrown the way his father was. His wife hid the last one. She wrapped a stone in a baby's blanket and handed him the bundle, and he swallowed the rock, certain he had won. The hidden child grew up and took the throne, exactly as the warning said. The thing Cronus did to outrun his fate was the thing that sealed it. It comes for you on an ordinary evening. Your kid asks why they have to, why now? And before you can think, the answer is already in the air. Flat, final, the exact words, in the exact tone your father used on you. You didn't choose them. They were waiting. Or it's your own hand, making a gesture you watched 1,000 times across a dinner table and swore was his, not yours. Or the drink, poured at the same hour into the same kind of glass, the one that used to make you afraid to come downstairs. Or you go quiet and cold in a way that empties a room, and you know the silence from the inside because you grew up standing in it. Men describe this moment the same way every time. I never saw it coming. His voice flew out of me. For a second, I couldn't tell whose face was in the mirror. And then your own child goes still. The exact stillness you used to go when his weather turned. You see it land on them, from the outside. This is the thing no one warns you about. You spent your whole life building yourself as his opposite. And he arrived anyway, wearing your clothes. So here is what actually happened, and it cuts against everything the heal your father wound people will sell you. You did not become him by failing to fight him. You became him by fighting him. Carl Jung gave us the map for this. The shadow, he wrote, is everything a man has no wish to be. The traits you saw in your father and hated, the temper, the coldness, the contempt at the dinner table. You refused them so completely that you drove them down into the dark, where you would never have to look at them again. But Jung's warning from his lectures in 1938 was exact. The less a thing is allowed into the light, he said, the blacker and denser it grows. Repressed, cut off from sight, it does not weaken. It waits, and then it bursts out in the moment of unawareness. The tired evening, the child's question, the second drink. The vow was the burial. I will never be like him was not a wall against the man. It was the door he walked through. Because to swear against a thing, you have to refuse to look at it. And whatever you refuse to look at is exactly what gets to run you. This is the sentence I promised you. In Aion, in 1951, Jung wrote, "When an inner situation is not made conscious, it happens outside, as fate." Read it slowly. The father you would not face inside yourself does not stay buried. He happens to you, from the outside, and you call it your temper, your nature, just how I am. And here is the part meant to free you, not crush you. He inherited it too. Jung wrote that a man's soul descends from his ancestors, that the true authors of a child are not only the parents, but the whole line standing behind them. Your father swore the same oath against his. Cronus was stripped of power by a father before he ever swallowed a son. It is a chain, and a chain is not a destiny. It is only what no one in the line ever stopped to look at. You do not break this by hating him harder. Hating him harder is what fed it for a lifetime. You break it by looking, and there are 3 ways to begin. The first is to meet him in the mirror. The next time he surfaces in you, the voice, the hand, the cold, do not look away. Don't drown in shame, and don't pretend it didn't happen. Just name it, plainly, to yourself. There he is. That was his tone. Naming it is not weakness. It is the one act the entire chain was built to avoid. The moment you see him clearly, he stops being your fate and becomes a choice. The second is to give up the vow. I'll never be like him has failed every man who ever swore it, because the oath keeps your eyes shut. Trade it for something quieter and far stronger. Not, I will never be like him. Instead, I will watch what I do, and I will choose. One is a boy with his hands over his eyes. The other is a man with them open. The third is to claim what's worth claiming. Because not everything in that shadow is rot. The man whose anger frightened you also had a spine. The one whose coldness wounded you could also stand in a storm and not break. Robert Johnson called it the gold buried in the shadow, the strength that got thrown into the dark along with the cruelty, because as a boy you couldn't tell them apart. Now you can. Take his steadiness and leave his contempt. Keep his strength and refuse his silence. That is the whole difference between inheriting a man and choosing what to carry of him. The man who does this still has his father's face. He will always have it. The brow, the hands, the weather of the same temperament. But something has changed that you cannot see from the outside. When the old reaction rises, there is now a half-second of room. And in that room, a choice. His father never had that room. His father's father never had it. He is the first in the line to stand in the gap and decide. He is not your fate. He is your inheritance. And an inheritance can be refused, line by line, with the good parts kept. Cronus swallowed his sons to escape the prophecy, and the swallowing is what made it come true. You have an option he never had. You can take the bundle out of the blanket and look at what is actually inside it. Not a monster, not a destiny, a frightened man who was handed a stone and never once unwrapped it. One of those sons who was handed weight instead of a temper, the boy who carried his whole house before he was grown, is one video back on this channel. If your father passed down a burden rather than a rage, go and meet him. Tonight, just do the first thing. The next time you catch his face in the mirror, don't flinch. Look at him. And then, for the first time in the whole long line, choose.